right, ladies and gentlemen, in a jam-packed show, we have a lot of things going on, but first and foremost, we're going to start off with welcoming Kelly Cruse, who is a representative of Rainbow Reynoldsburg, one of the founding members of Rainbow Reynoldsburg. And you're going to talk a little bit about Pride. This is not the first Pride that we've had in Reynoldsburg. We've done it for a number of years. I'm really excited about it this year. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Pride Festival and how it all got started specific to our community of Reynoldsburg?
Well, when they had the COVID, everything shut down for like the downtown Pride, and so a lot of the little communities decided to branch out and have their own because they were smaller groups, and you didn't have to worry about 500,000, 750,000 people spreading COVID. So that's how it got started here. This will be the 4th year. Rainbow Reynoldsburg specifically is really excited about this year because we are officially incorporated and a 501c3 now. So it'll be our first year as like an official group and not just, hey, let's have a party Pride kind of thing. So
it's like that's grown-ups now.
Yeah, it's like we're grown-ups now. We're a grown-up business now. So we kind of worked into that where we can, officially accept donations, sell merchandise, things like that.
Well, it's really, that's always a good thing because it's definitely taking that next step with everything.
Right.
Now, what's new this year? What are some of the new things that we've got going on in Pride?
Well, new this year, we actually have the Columbus Health Department outreach van. So they will be doing the HIV, syphilis testing, as well as other resources. We have a henna tattoo, and a fun photo booth that you can get pictures and photos while you're there with your friends and family.
So that's, the henna tattoo is beyond artwork, what they are able to do.
Yes.
I just wonder how anybody has the patience to just sit there long enough for them to do all of those different.
Yes.
I'd probably be a little too twitchy for that.
I agree, me too. At a festival, I'm bouncing around, especially.
Oh, especially because this one,
Yeah.
This is not one where you're just visiting, you're actually active with it.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things that you're looking forward to, some of the regular things that have been going on in the past? What are some of the things you're looking forward to?
Well, Session 5 band's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They will be playing from 6 to 8. We will have the pet parade prior to that, so bring out your pets. We don't have the exact time nailed down, but it'll probably be about 5:30 with registration up to about 5:15 for the pet parade. So bring a chair, enjoy the show. We have drag. We'll have some drag shows throughout it. And one of the things, like going to another Pride, you mentioned, like as a hostess, Aaron and I really enjoy it. We went, me and Michael Perfect, he is the chairperson and the founder. And we went to another Pride this past weekend, and it was great to see like the community come together for the drag because they're under such attack right now.
Yes, they are.
And to see all the kids in the lawn watching the drag show and like giving their dollars, and like the drag performers were so appreciative, and it made the kids with their dollars feel like they're part of the show. So that was great to see, and I hope we have that at a participation at ours as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that was, because they're the same band that was there last year, and
Yes.
they did a phenomenal job. I don't have talent to sing, so I'm not gonna, I just like, yay, I'm just gonna kind of sway with it.
Sit in the back and sway.
Oh yeah, because that's about it. But those are always fun things, and it is honestly, there's a lot of groups out there that that are supportive of everything that's going on at Pride, and with drag there as well, because of the stigma that has been imposed by people who don't really probably have never been to a drag show. It becomes a whole other thing. I mean, I get a kick out of it when people say that, we're of the age that if you remember back in the day where a TV show called Bosom Buddies was on, or if you want to throw Mrs. Doubtfire, or if you want to throw Bugs Bunny in there any of this stuff, it has been consistently in society for a long. Milton Berle was, and only in the last 5 years or so maybe has it become something that is more stigmatized for no particular reason whatsoever. So all looking forward to that. I also know that these are, you mentioned the 501c3 and things like that for donations and sponsorships. So if there's somebody out there that maybe this is the first time they're hearing about it, or they're like, hey, maybe my business wants to get involved, is there still a way for them to sponsor anything going on at this point in time, or are we already lining up for 2025?
Absolutely. We're lining up for 2025, and we can still, we actually talked as a board, and, Pride's about inclusivity, so we want to make sure we leave it open for people that are just hearing about it today through the show. So yes, you can definitely still get involved. To get involved with this year's Pride, contact the city here, go through their page, reach out to the Parks and Recs and the events, and you can also go to the Rainbow Reynoldsburg Facebook page. You can message us. We can give you the exact information of who to send everything to. For donations, you can go through the Rainbow Reynoldsburg Facebook page. To get involved or volunteer, you can go through the Rainbow Reynoldsburg Facebook page. And we also have a couple other events coming up. Like we have a pre-Pride mixer that Wednesday before, and all that information is on the Facebook page, as well as we are actually one of the sponsors of the Pride Prom coming up in August. So all of that information will also be on the Rainbow Reynoldsburg Facebook page.
So that's one of the nice things about social media. You can get all that information
All
out
right
there.
there.
So Saturday, the 22nd, is the event from 4 to 8. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know we had a big crowd last year, and I love the one that I like is the balloon structures that they've had.
Yeah.
Where it's it says Pride, and then the number of people that go and get their pictures taken in front of it is really cool. Because again, it is something where everybody I know they want. I think it was, I can't remember if it was last year, if it was the year before, where they brought as many people who were just happened to be there and put them in front, and it was just such a wonderful kaleidoscope of everything that was in there within the community. So
a lot of diversity in that picture.
check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's going to be at Huber Park. You can follow by the rainbow paintings on the sidewalks as you kind of enter in. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So Kelly, thank you very much for coming and talking with us today. I know we'll see you out there.
Yeah,
Appreciate
definitely.
it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
very
us.
much. No problem.
Make sure you check in at the Rainbow Reynoldsburg and the Pet Parade tents when you get there, so we know who all's there and get your
Absolutely.
information.
The pet parade's fun too, especially all the different things because some people really go and take it to a whole different level with that.
Well, anybody that knows me knows I'm a crazy animal person, so you know that I'm all about the pet parade. So
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So thanks, Kelly. I appreciate you coming in.
no problem. Thanks for having me.
So that is one of two major events that we've got going on. Our next event brings President of Council, Meredith Lawson, Rowe, and she is going to be talking to us about what was once kind of I don't want to call it an unknown holiday, but something a little different. Madam President, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor.
We're going to be talking about Juneteenth.
Yes.
And this is something, we talked about this just the other day with a different group of individuals. Originally, it started right in front of City Hall, and it started with a flag ceremony, and then it has now grown into everything that we're going to see. So let's kind of kick things off and tell us about the festival this year, because we know obviously it's going to be next Tuesday. So tell us about it.
Yes, we're so very excited. This is the 5th annual Reynoldsburg Juneteenth. It is happening the day before America's newest holiday, which is Tuesday, June 18th. It will be from 4 to 8 p.m. Right at Huber Park. This year's theme is Their Wildest Dreams. So you've probably heard the expression, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. We are so very excited to highlight this theme because while it is resonates and really is a nod to African American culture, but really all of us are our ancestors' wildest dreams. And being in such an inclusive community, it's important that we celebrate this because this is a grand mark in America's history, the end of slavery. So Juneteenth is short for June 19th, and that is the day that those that were enslaved in Galveston, Texas, had become free. Although President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation January 1st of that year, that message did not get down south because there was no Twitter back there. There was no Facebook, no telephones. And so Gordon Granger and his troops traveled down to Galveston, Texas to actually read the proclamation. And so that's why we're celebrating, is to commemorate the end of slavery, to celebrate our culture, to elevate America's newest holiday, and just make sure, to your point, it virtually was an unknown holiday unless you grew up knowing about it. Thus, I did not grow up.
Or you're a history teacher.
Yes, I did not grow up knowing about it. And now I can say with a feather in each of our caps that our next generation knows what Juneteenth is. And thank you, Reynoldsburg. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy that we recognized it before the federal government.
Yes.
By a day, but we still did it first. And it's something that's there, and employees are appreciative of it because anytime that you get a day off is always a good thing for employees. But they actually appreciate the significance. So our employees have learned about it that maybe they hadn't otherwise. Now there's always something new. It's always something growing. So this year it's on a Tuesday instead of a Saturday. So tell us about some of the new programming. So it's going to start at 4 o'clock at Huber Park. What are we going to see when we come to Juneteenth?
Well,
tell me that the inflatable colon is back.
Okay, well it might be. I don't want to spoil a surprise. What's going on this year? We still have our each year since 2, I believe, we have had the honor of partnering with Starstruck Apparel, that is a minority Black-owned business here on Main Street. And this is this year's design. And I really love how, can you see this okay?
Yeah.
And if you look at the image, I believe Jalil really captured the spirit that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. So that is going to be available for all, as well as something new we're going to have this year is the Barber Zone mobile unit. I'm so very excited. The city has partnered with Barber Zone, and the gentleman's name, the barber, Chavez Mormon, he is actually bringing his mobile unit. And I'm so excited to see it because this mobile unit is fully functional.
Yeah.
He's just gonna pull up, he doesn't need a generator or anything. Everything like in the barbershop in a brick and mortar is in this mobile unit. So he's gonna be offering haircuts for kids. We're going to have, an author on site that's actually going to be autographing books, as well as the health screenings. And the health screenings are a staple. The African American Male Wellness Agency has been with us since the very beginning.
Yes.
And let me share with you why it is important to have health screenings, is because we cannot continue to celebrate our heritage and our history if we're not healthy and we're here and not here to pass it on to the next generation. And while some may think it's not important to have health screenings, I want to share it is very important because last year we actually saved a grandmother's life, and that grandmother could have been me. This woman had come to the park to enjoy Juneteenth with her family, had stopped to get some health screenings, and her glucose levels were off the charts. And so the health providers, the community health providers, had encouraged her to go over to speak with the paramedics. Plugs to our first responders, our men and women from RPD and men and women from Truro are always there on site, so that we're all safe. And at this particular moment, this grandmother finally decided to speak with the paramedic, and they encouraged her to go to the emergency room. Well, she did not.
Strongly encouraged.
She was not interested in going because she was there with her grandchildren. So long story short, her kids had come, got her children situated, and she was able to go to the emergency room. And when I heard the siren, I thought, oh gosh, what's going on? And then I finally learned that was why we heard the sirens last year, was because she was rushed to the emergency room. And I might add, we did follow up with her, and her health is stabilized, and she was able to get some healthcare education about her health condition from African American Male Wellness Agency. So that was really a full circle loop, and
This
that's
really
what I'm-
happened. This is not like
I'm not making it up.
making this up to make it sound good.
Absolutely,
It really
absolutely. And so that's why I'm looking forward for the health screenings. Not because we're looking to save any lives for a story like that, but just so it's important for us to know our numbers and
whether
know,
we want to know them or not.
Mhm, mhm.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely. What are some of the returning favorites? Because there's always some cool things that are kind of back and forth. So what are you going to
Yes. So, Toussaint West African Dance Institute is one of my all-time favorites. I have been connected with Miss Susan Bradford Conta for some time, and I tell you, when her team comes out and they actually share West African culture in dance and in drumming, it is spectacular to see. And not only do they offer the rich culture in dance and drumming, but they make sure that some of us who aren't as skillful as them get out there and
I like how she keeps looking at me. I mean, I'm really,
So And last year, I think I have some pictures of, school board member Neil Whitman and we were out there dancing. And so you don't have to
You can't
have,
stop Neil from dancing.
well, you don't have to have the talent as Neil. You can have the talent as me, and that's 2 left feet, but I get out there and I have a good time and I move my body. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is for Toussaint to come back and to grace us with their presence, all things our culture.
Absolutely. Now, much like, the Pride Festival, Juneteenth is done by a large number of people. There's a lot of sponsors, but is there still time to sponsor, any kind of activities and things of that nature?
Well, I'm never going to say no to money. If there is someone that wants to sow a seed into the city of Reynoldsburg Juneteenth, we would gladly accept. Now, in full transparency, our printed materials are in production. So if you decide that you want to be a sponsor, we welcome you. You would not be included in our printed material, but we could give you several shout outs.
Yeah, and there's always a lot. And one good thing that I think was a good change, we all love it when politicians talk, don't we? And so you have everybody come up and reading the proclamations, but what's interesting is it's the same story, but when you have the kind of that proclamation out there, when you talk about the historical knowledge base of everything, it provides a kind of a grounding point so that everything else that we see after it is a direct result of those people that were enslaved to no longer be. And here we are because of that.
Absolutely.
And one cool thing that we have done, and for the most part, not a lot of people from outside of the community attend, is we will have a flag raising ceremony on Monday morning at 8:30. It's going to be right here at City Hall. So if you want to come, this is not big pomp and circumstance. This is going to be something where it's going to happen, and it's going to be good to be up there. But it'll be here. It will be at the Senior Center. So again, those are things that are happening within our community that we're really much looking forward to, because again, the city of Reynoldsburg is a city of respect. It is a city of diversity, and believe it or not, a majority of our community absolutely embraces this diversity.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great opportunity for everybody. So hopefully you can make it out next week. Any questions so far?
No, they just asked about if there's any African dancing performers, which you addressed. We also
said
have
that.
a great tribute band coming.
Yes, so the Toussaint West African Dance Institute will be our African contribution to Juneteenth. Our cover band, our headline this year is the Marvin Gaye Tribute Band, and I'm really looking forward to hearing them, because if any of the old schoolers out there know anything about Marvin Gaye and the songs and the passion that he really would infuse into the music of awareness, of social awareness, touching on social injustices and equity. And so I really think this tribute band is going to take our event to the next level. And one other thing I have to make sure that I don't forget is the George J. Stable Award. That award winner will be announced during our formal program at 6 o'clock. And that award, the Reynoldsburg Juneteenth Legacy Award, is very near and dear to my heart, because it really includes local history. If you don't know George J. Stabo, his picture is on the side of the mural of the Carpenter Funeral Home. His remains are at the Seceder Cemetery, in the historical Seceder Cemetery right there on 256 behind Bibby Bop. And he is a Civil War veteran that actually ran for village council. He did not win village council, and he went to the military. So, I mean, amazing. He wanted to honor his community by serving. And he was not able to serve at the village level, and said, you know what, I'm just gonna take it to the next level. And he decided to serve in the Civil War. So we really highlight his service. We highlight his importance to our local community within that award.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you have a few minutes to kind of stay.
Absolutely.
First off, gonna have to drink some water because I'm gonna be doing a lot of talking. There's a lot of things coming up. First off, as a reminder, as always, Reynoldsburg City School Board is they have their open office hours on every Friday from Neil Whitman. I haven't seen him dance on the show recently, but I can see him doing so. It's every Friday from 4 to 5 at the Graham Road Welcome Center. It's live on Facebook from 4 to 4:30. And then he meets individually with people after it. But now I want to kind of talk a little bit about another thing that's going on in school. So as most of you who have paid attention to me on my personal page, my son was a volleyball player, and I had the privilege and opportunity of watching him play and a lot of other kids play over the last couple of years. But this year I want to talk a little bit about a junior. His name's Joe Lowry, and and let me just read through this, and then we'll kind of go back into it. During a free volleyball event put on by USA Volleyball in Columbus, Joe was approached by one of the coaches for the national sitting volleyball team and one athlete on the team. They were engaging his interest on joining the developmental training program with the idea of him possibly making it onto the national men's sitting volleyball team once he became an adult. And the reason why is Joe, at an early age, lost his leg. And yet, in spite of that, he was out there spiking, serving, blocking, playing volleyball every single time. And he wasn't a token player. He was somebody who was dedicated to play. He made plays. I saw him make plays every single time, and it was amazing to see his dedication and his encouragement of his teammates out there all the time. And so now he's going to have this opportunity, potentially, to go on out there, as I kind of interrupted the whole thing. There's a number of people out there that are trying to create this developmental team. When they left the day, Joe was invited to try out on one of the development camps. At first he was unsure. He doesn't like change, as most teenagers don't. But he had been playing standing volleyball since 7th grade. On top of that, he doesn't want to bring attention to the fact that he does have a prosthetic leg. But after a couple of days, Joe came to his mom and said he wanted to try out for one of these camps, which is always good. The hard part is the faculty is located in Oklahoma City, which is not next door. So it's an expensive task to get there for this life-changing opportunity. So they are doing a kind of a GoFundMe fundraiser event to get him there, because if he's able to do this, this is something for the Paralympics. This is one of our own in Reynoldsburg who is taking advantage of an opportunity that is out there. His parents go on to say, as parents, we want to give our kids every opportunity of theirs to fuel their passions and happiness, and volleyball has been one of those passions since the first time he played. They will do whatever they can to give him the chance to explore, and this actual Paralympic gold medalist currently there, they'll be holding this door open for him to see if he can make this step. So what I'd like to do to you, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about this story, go ahead and check it out on the Reynoldsburg Raider volleyball page. There'll be some information there if you would like to donate a little money in there, because obviously it's not just Joe going there, but he needs to have family in there, because no one wants to put a junior in high school into Oklahoma City. We don't want to do that. But it's a great opportunity for a great family here in Reynoldsburg, a lot of close connections. So I'm putting it out there for you. So let's go ahead and sponsor and get Joe out there so we can represent our community well. So with that, any questions, comments? Nope. All right.
Go Raiders.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a lot of fun. What is not a lot of fun is that there's 442 days left of the Wagner Road project, but who's counting?
Not me.
Yep, we got a couple of things in there as far as some updates. First, Columbia Gas is going to be on-site mobilizing towards the end of this week. This is where they get all of their equipment and everything that they're going to do. They're going to start dropping it off probably Thursday, Friday of this week. And then next week on Monday is when they're really going to start moving it. It'll be right at Priestley. So for all of the boundary lines and everything with the road and all that, that's where you're going to see. So they're starting at Priestley. Our water crew, on the other hand, right now is passing Messiah, and they're continuing to move through. So at some point, again, I always joke, we're going to have our transcontinental railroad meeting point at some time. But because the water crews have done a good job of moving forward with it, conditions have been favorable, it's probably going to be in a good location. AEP is going to be out there next week. They're going to start looking and getting ready to put in the new power lines and getting those things stacked up, as well as some transformers installed. So there's a lot of stuff going on with Wagner Road. The other thing, which has been brought up at council meetings, part of Wagner Road, we all know that it needed redone anyway, but even just the basic road function needs to be done. So there's some parts of it that are a little bit more bumpity bump, especially with the traffic that's on there. So we're identifying all of those locations, and you're going to see some temporary lane improvements on that. Obviously, this is not going to be like a full redo of the road, because most of it is going to get torn up as we continue with this building project, but enough so you're not kind of like leaning and bumping and all of that other type of thing. So that is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. So if you have any questions about Wagner Road, please continue to email and mention it. We are working on that. Taylor Road, if you've been on Taylor Road by the Sheets location, that is, we're counting down the days. At any point in time, the phone's going to go off and they're going to say, we're going to be putting in the paving and the curb lane for the dedicated right turn lane soon. We've asked, they're going to be giving us about a 48-hour notice, so please pay attention to what you see on our website, social media pages, our Reynoldsburg Connect thing, because obviously that is going to impact if they're having to close that part down to put the curb and the asphalt in. But the nice part about it is we're there. It shouldn't take long to put those things in, which means that within a couple of weeks, all of that is going to be completely open. So you'll have a center straight lane, you'll have a left turn lane, and you'll have a dedicated right turn lane. So all of that stuff is going to go in there. We're very much looking forward to that. Any questions so far? Okay. A little bit closer to your neck of the woods, and actually Kelly's neck of the woods, due to some applications for Congresswoman Beatty's office, the Birch View project is now moving forward. So we've got everything scheduled. Because it's a congressional project, it is now working its way through the Ohio Department of Transportation and all of that. So they are scheduled to repave the other half of Birchview from East Green all really to the boundary line where the school street actually begins. So that's scheduled to start in 2026. So it is a little bit of ways away, but that's because when you get involved with the federal government, there's about 18,000 other things that you have to do to make sure that everything fits. There's no problem with it, it's just now going through that process. So we've got that in there, so special shout out to Congresswoman Beatty's office for supporting this project. And also, and this is, you don't know this, and it's not 100% yet. And I got a lot of big announcements today, by the way.
I'm here for it all.
You are indeed. We've applied as a city for some congressional funding for the next year's projects. So Congresswoman Beatty, and I was relieved and pleased to learn that on Friday, Senator Brown has granted our request of $2 million to go to our Bryce Road realignment project. So
that's huge.
It is
news
an
for
absolutely
Bryce
huge.
Road.
Yes, it is.
Huge.
So for those of you that are on the intersection at Bryce and Main Street, if you're on Bryce and you're headed towards where the empty Walgreens building is, and I won't use directions, but it's north. Right now, if you just keep going straight, you're going to run into a wall. We've had the jokes about it, the brick wall that kept getting rebuilt. Well, this funding is actually going to go to realign that entire intersection. Now, because we have support from Congresswoman Beatty's office and Senator Brown's office, still has to go through the remainder of all the different things, but we are also awaiting word on a grant that we applied for called the Safe Streets Grant. That is going to be a grant to continue that project not only from there, but all the way to Livingston, which would include narrowing some of the lanes down, street trees, things that if you were familiar with our raised grant application.
Yes.
So basically taking all of those elements with it in there. So we have gotten the first good step in there. You never know what Congress is going to do, let's be honest. But right now we've got that in there. So that is something that is on track. That construction would probably start 27, 28, somewhere around in that time frame. But we are working for that. We'll find out this fall if we get the other grant, which is for $9 million. So you can tell that this is a huge thing for the city and our dedication to Bryce Road all the way across. So that's one of the big, huge announcements for the day. The other thing is I saw, amongst many things on social media the last couple of days, some questions about the COTA BRT. So I'm going to kind of go through and say, first of all, nothing's set in stone. We've had meetings with COTA on what it possibly could look like. They are waiting to get their finalized traffic data in. Once they get that, then they're really going to dive deep into a lot of things. So a couple of things in there is where the stops would be. We know one stop would actually be at the intersection of Bryce and Main. We know one stop will be probably at Haft and Main, somewhere around in this area. We also know that the end of the line will most likely be out across from the Department of Agriculture at what we call our Eastwood facility. So that's kind of the stops that would be there for everything. Now, the big question is, what's it going to look like in the road? So just letting everybody know, the moment that whatever happens from, let's say, Haft Road all the way down to the city of Columbus, that is something that has not been determined. What has been determined is that once you get to Haft Road and Davidson, everything stays exactly as it is right now. We spent a lot of money the last couple of years redoing Main Street in this section, and it's not going to be touched. There's not going to be any center lane nothing's changing. The buses will go what they call rate of traffic. So if there is some kind of narrowing or center lane function in the area before you get to Davidson, once you get to Davidson all the way out to the other side, it's just as it is now. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that, because I know I saw a lot of people saying that it would be slightly different. So no, we are not tearing up something that we just spent $8 million to do. Now, the remainder of it, from Haft all the way down to, let's say, the border area by Delaney's Diner, that we don't know 100% sure. We know that their goal is to have as much center lane as possible, so buses go one direction, either east or one direction west, up and down Main Street on a relatively fast basis. Now, what else looks like, we don't know yet. We don't know if there's going to be a hardcore median. We don't know if it's going to be open the entire way. We just know where the stops are going to be, and we know that there'll probably be center lane in that area, but nothing past that point in time. If there's any questions about that, please shoot it out to me. We have meetings with CODA and our engineering team every other week, and they're going to get to that 60% design phase by the end of the year, so we're working on that stuff. So good news for that. Moving on, another big thing that's happening in July, which I'm just reminding, I know July seems like a far away. We have our town hall meeting on at the Reynoldsburg Library about our flooding survey. So a lot of the information is being gathered, and the goal is that they'll be able to present what they found from FEMA and the Ohio EPA and whatnot about what everything looks like with this particular study. It's going to be at our amazingly beautiful brand new library.
Yes.
So if you haven't had a chance to check that out in general, please go ahead and do so. But that's going to be at July 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Don't worry, we're going to get all that stuff out as we get a little bit closer. We also have a lot of cool things going on, not just Juneteenth and Pride, but we have Kids Night Out this Friday, which is a great opportunity to have kids kind of do their thing here for Parks and Rec, and parents maybe are kind of enjoying a little bit of time away. We also have the Fairy Garden program, which is this Sunday, June 16th, from 2 to 3 at the Senior Center. Anybody from 5 to 12 can do that. We also have the Lego Robot Camp, which is going to be starting next Friday. It's from that point until the 21st. And it's at the Reynoldsburg Community Center, Reynoldsburg Community Church, ages 5 through 9 or 9 through 13, and they have morning, afternoon, and all-day sessions. And we have rock hoppers, which is always fun. You get to go in the creek a little bit and see some of that stuff, as well as Safety Town registration is live. So all of those things are live, as well as soccer and baseball registration is live for the fall, as well as a golf camp starting up a little bit. And Bryce work, the site work is continuing. Now they're working on the culvert area. So this is the stuff that basically the walkways that'll go over the bridges, so that way they can get ready to start doing some of the pathway work and things like that. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to see if there's any questions.
No. Sorry.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
I do have a question there regarding Congresswoman's RISE grant. So I neglected to share that Congresswoman and her staff will be at Reynoldsburg Juneteenth. And so do you think it's appropriate for me to ask her when we're going to get our money?
Get our money back? I think that might not be a bad idea.
I wouldn't ask.
That'd be a little joke. I'm sure it'll be the checks in the mail.
Okay.
That's how it goes.
That's a good answer.
But the Birchview one, that one is already, that's done. That's past everything, so that's locked in, which is good. All right, so now we're going to talk about the next thing. So I've got a couple of things. Obviously, we're going to talk about the PNC site, and then I have one really big announcement that I've been really dying to get for the last couple of weeks, especially the last few days. So let's talk about the PNC site. So obviously on council, on Monday night, it was presented to council that a purchase and sale agreement with the Columbus Metropolitan Group would be there to put in affordable housing into the location of the PNC site. There'd be about 8,000 to 10,000 square feet of retail or medical in that first floor, and then probably 4 stories up above. So let's dispel a couple of myths about some things. Let's talk about the overview. All right, so how did we get to this point? So the city of Reynoldsburg purchased this property a while ago because we did not feel that on a nice corner like that the best use was to have a business that was limited in terms of the number of employees. Let's say in this case it was a bank, and you had probably 6 to 12 employees on any given basis. And so we decided to purchase that to try and do some other things to kind of activate the corner. All of that is following the comprehensive master plan that was established long before you sat in your chair or I sat in my chair. And it actually, that area calls for what is called higher density. Density means instead of building out, we build up, which is one of the comments that I saw on social media. So this is something that has been there. Now, does it explicitly call out affordable housing for this location in the comprehensive master plan? No. But affordable housing is a component all the way throughout the master plan because of the need of housing in the region. And that was in 2018, before we got to the point where we're at now with Intel, which is exponentially grown expectations of population growth in Central Ohio. So we started looking, and we talked to anybody and everybody that we possibly could. Every major developer, restaurant chains, entertainment people, all of this other type of stuff. And the best offer that we got was from a developer, and their offer was this. You're going to give us the property for free at no cost. Then we're going to put 100% tax abatement on it for 15 years, and we're still going to have housing on it. We may have a restaurant on the bottom floor, but that was the next best offer. That wasn't something that we were interested in. You know, there are a couple of issues with that. One, obviously we wanted a return on our investment, but the other part of it is housing for housing's sake the best thing, especially in a need where there's this affordable housing need all the way throughout the community. So we kept going back and forth. Obviously, around the time that we did this, you know, you're seeing interest rates grow up, you're seeing materials costs go up, and people in the development world stopped, you know, doing much of anything outside of a couple of things. One thing that they don't really do now is retail, because of the fact it's hard to get financing for retail options. They can, but it's not the easiest thing in the world without major incentives, which is why the abatement thing always kind of comes up. So as we were talking about it and looking at it, one of the options came up about, you know, just in general with housing, affordable housing in general. And one of the locations that we talked with, in this case, Columbus Metropolitan Housing, was the PNC site. And this is why it is actually not, you know, the tragedy and the horrible thing that everybody thinks it is. One, affordable housing is not what you think it is. This is not Section 8 housing in terms of what people perceive it to be from, let's say, the 1990s in Cabrini Green in Chicago. That's not what this is. What it is a facility that is going to be built up to the same specifications it has to be built in the city of Reynoldsburg. There's no cost-cutting measures to build this facility, and ultimately it'll be around a $30 million building, give or take, when they actually get the contracting out. And the number of people that are going to live there is very regulated all the way across. So I've got some information because these are some of the scattering things that I've seen all the way throughout Facebook. So it's 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The maximum you can have in a 1-bedroom apartment is 4 people. The maximum you can have in a 2-bedroom apartment is 6 people. So these are the things that are out there. So we're not talking where you're going to have one person and 18 other people living with you. This is going to be relatively contained. It is controlled all the way through CMH and their property management organization that will make sure that everything is in there. The reality is everybody thinks it's going to be something in the future. Well, 2 things. One, I can't speak to what happened in the city when code enforcement before I got here, but I can tell you this. The affordable housing units that were currently in the city, which is off Bryce and Livingston, those units we've had 2 calls in 4.5 years that I've been here. That's it. For crime, property issues, all of that. Because the process now is completely maintained and code enforcement is always enforced in it. And I can guarantee you that when I look out my window across the street, if this facility is passed and is built at that point in time, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep an eye on it to make sure that everything looks good. So I dismiss the idea that this is going to be a crime-infested thing, because just because you're poor doesn't mean you're going to commit crimes. It's very simple. Everybody deserves a place to live, and this is going to be that location. So the next part of it, as far as the process, is we have 2 more readings to go, and community members are happy to share their opinions with Council President Lawson, Rowe, members of council, all the way through. If council does agree to this particular deal, then it moves into the next phase. If they do not agree to this deal, then we will go back to phase 1 and start the process all over again with whatever else may be there. But as I said, you saw what the next best offer was. So if it does go through, then there's still things that CMHA would have to do to make sure that this process moves forward. One is they have to continue to secure funding through the state tax credit and all of these other mechanisms that have been put in place by the state to provide opportunities for this. Now, when you dig into the nitty-gritty of it, out of those, let's say 100 units, because right now it's 100 units. It may be 80 units, it may be 115 units. It just depends on how the mechanics of the engineering work. But let's just go 100 units because that's what we're aiming for. Out of 100 units, 25 of those units, only 25 will be for people that normally would not be able to afford it. This would be those with disabilities. This would be senior citizens that have 0 or limited income, perhaps maybe even the woman that we talked about in the ABC ad that, you know, it maxes out at $1,200 a month in Social Security. Those 25 units would be for people that fall into that category. The other 75 units would be based upon the quality of income that they get that is no more than $74,000. So think about that for a minute. People who make up to $74,000 could be eligible to live here. One of the comments in question was, can we guarantee that teachers, nurses, and firefighters can be there? No, I can't guarantee that. But what I can tell you is that people who are nurses, who are firefighters, who are teachers, can apply and go there and live there if they choose to. And their income would actually be eligible. So think about it, when we talk about affordable housing, we're not talking about something obscure. We're not talking about people who don't work for a living, minus those specific cases that I mentioned. We're talking about people that are working a job that just aren't getting paid at a high enough level to live in the industry and the world that we live in Central Ohio when it comes to housing. So they will have a sliding scale about what it is that they can afford to qualify to live in that particular location. Now, the 8,000 to 10,000 square feet on the bottom floor, which is everybody's wish. Believe me, I wish there was a restaurant in there, and there still may be. The reason why the CMHA was looking for a medical user is because medical users are consistent. They pay the bills, and from our point of view, you're looking at X amount of doctors, nurses, and ancillary staff that would be in there. That their income tax ultimately would help bridge the gap from the 1.5 million that we are selling for versus the 2 million that we purchased for. But I'll have news on that in just a little bit. So those are all things that are in there. That's my belief. I've been talking about affordable housing for a long time. I do not believe that some of the suggestions that were listed about putting affordable housing in other areas of town. I have gotten a number of comments about put it over by Bryce Road, put it over somewhere else, as if that's going to make the situation go better. Believe it or not, if you concentrate poverty, it's a bad situation. What you want to do is spread everyone out so everybody has different options. And not everybody in this particular facility is going to be quote unquote poor. There's going to be various levels all the way throughout. I know not everybody's going to agree with this. I don't even know if council is going to agree with this, but this is what I was charged to do, and this is what I told the community I was going to do for really since I've been in office. And in this case, this is the first time that we've actually had an opportunity to provide affordable housing. Is there going to be more? Probably not. Reynoldsburg does not have that kind of space and does not have the kind of ability to do so. Housing is pretty much, this is about going to be it with what's going on. But at that time, I do stand behind the project. I look forward to hearing what the community has to say about it. But if you have questions specifically, I'm happy to meet you for a cup of coffee. I'm happy to hear you come here at City Hall. But normally, I don't engage on social media for something like this because odds are, if you really don't like it that much, I'm not going to be able to say anything to convince you. And you're probably not going to be able to say anything to convince me. So that's my comment for that one. Do we have any comments, questions?
We did have one question. It says, can you discuss the impact of this development to the school district student population?
It's a very good question. So based on the number of apartments that are there, as far as let's say it is 100 units, basically what the idea would be is it's 0.74 kids on average per unit. So you're looking at maybe this would be an increase of anywhere from 30 to 50, but the reality is I don't know. The affordable housing construct is there that some of them have kids, but we don't know who's going to be applying to live here. So are there going to be kids that will be going to the district? Yes. Do they deserve the same education that everybody else does get in Reynoldsburg? Absolutely. Is it going to overburden the schools to the fact that it's going to collapse in upon itself? Probably not. The school district has been well aware of my philosophy on housing, and they know how this is going to be there. And by the time that this building is finished and operating, then we'll have a much better idea about what kind of number of kids will be there. But the schools will be able to handle it. All right, so now the next thing, which is a little bit more fun and enlightening. So one of the big conversations that we've also seen over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years since I've been here, is this idea of when are we going to find something that's fun for people to do? When are we going to do something like that? And it is not easy. We have talked to a lot of different organizations, but at the next council meeting, which is June 24th, I'm going to present another purchase and sale agreement to the City Council. This is going to be for the area right next to what is called Central Ohio Primary Care. This is the empty field by the cemetery, across the street from the cemetery. I don't have any pictures because there's nothing that specific baked, but what it would be is this. On the Main Street side, you'd have about 40,000 square feet of restaurant and retail. So you'd have a restaurant, you'd have some retail, things of that nature, and I'm going to get more into one of the tenants there in a minute. Behind that is going to be indoor athletic fields for students and youth and really everybody in general. One specific section of it is going to be as large as a full-size in-zone to in-zone football field that you can play soccer on, field hockey, all of those different types of things in there. And it's going to be a turf field, it's going to be covered and all of that type of stuff, and you can do tournaments in there and things like that. There'll be a little bit of a breezeway walkway into the other facility, which will have places for indoor basketball, volleyball, pickleball, batting cages for softball and baseball, all of those different types of things. All of this would be open to the public. There's going to be obviously people that are going to register for this and they'll use it for club training and things of that. But we've also worked with the developer to make sure that the schools have some guaranteed time in there. So schools will have the opportunity to participate in some of those things. So if there's a let's say a tournament, indoor basketball tournament, let's say there is a volleyball tournament or something like that, schools will have the access to it just as much as anybody else. My thing is I always think about it, can you imagine if you can get on one of those really hot summer days, get the band inside as they get ready to practice as opposed to outside in the melting temperatures of August. So that's part of it. So the front half of it, basically the retail section is going to actually be inspired by conversations I had with students in Reynoldsburg High School. So President Lawson, Rowe, you've been to Summit Campus when they've done these community project things. So 2 years ago, keep in mind this was 2 years ago, a couple of students were having the same conversations that we see on Facebook. Why can't we have X? Why can't we have Y? And they looked at me and they said, Mayor, could we have a Boys and Girls Club in Reynoldsburg? And they said the reason why is because we want something to do between the time school's out and between the time parents get home. Because they said this, they said, because sometimes when we have that much time to go on, other things happen. Yeah. So because of a conversation that I had within the school district from our students that are asking for this, started making phone calls. Talked with the Boys and Girls Club. I know they've been talking with the school district in certain regards anyway. But one of the things that we would like to see with this, and we're working with it, and everybody's agreeable to it, is the Boys and Girls Club would actually be a tenant into this facility. So they would have their own facility in this location that would help those students that would like a little bit of extra programming help on the Boys and Girls Club side, but then would also have access to some of those athletic fields as well. So that is something that is in there. So we're checking a lot of different boxes for everything all the way across. We will see. The sale price for the land that we agreed to is about $600,000. So for those of you that want to start kind of like talking about dollars and cents, it is exactly on par with how much COPC paid for their piece of land, which we had already made up our money from that point in time. So all of this is in addition, and it's about, say, $700,000 and change more than we're getting back, more than what we bought it for. So that offsets any losses that we see from the COPC side. So it is from the metropolitan housing side. So we are still finding ways to make money on that particular project, in addition to providing services that people have wanted, which again is youth athletic fields, volleyball tournaments, basketball tournaments, baseball, softball, all of these different things are in there, and that's going to be right here. And that will bring in a lot of people. The developer also knows that there's going to be a restaurant on site. I'm going to assume it's going to cater to people who are playing athletics a lot. So we're probably talking burgers, fries, wings, stuff like that. So we're going to see how that goes. But that's going to be before you in the next meeting in June. We couldn't get it this time because lawyers, I's dotted, T's crossed, things like that. Do we have any questions about that particular project?
Just a quick question about whether that could be used for field hockey in the football fields.
Yes.
So yes, I feel like we need like the clapping hand sound because everybody's super excited to hear this news.
Yes.
We
Believe
wish we
me,
had that.
it's been killing me.
I think it is well
Yeah.
overdue for our community to have
Yes,
facilities so that we don't always have to go to neighboring communities.
absolutely.
And we can host more people to come to the City of Respect.
Yes, they will definitely be there. So, go ahead.
Just Councilman Baker had asked if there was any new information about Civic Park improvement. I know you mentioned it was moving forward,
Yeah.
but I don't think there were any new additional news
No,
to add
so-
to that.
So the fun thing with Civic Park is, believe it or not, everything costs money, but we have identified the funding mechanisms for it. So the property taxes that are coming in from the Rose Hill townhomes, the property taxes that are coming in from the Wagner Road townhomes, and the property taxes that are going to be coming in from the site that is on Lancaster. It was called the Oliver Project. That developer is no longer associated with it. There is going to be housing there. It passed through planning and zoning a couple of weeks ago. All the property taxes from that would be there. So we have 3 generated revenue streams that will be going in to help provide those upgrades to Civic Park. So we actually have a meeting to kind of start adjusting and figuring out what that is and what a timeline would be, because it is going to be a phased project. Obviously, you know, the ultimate goal is, one, we want to have a bridge, so we have one way, more than one way in and one way out, and then all of the other amenities that we've talked about, dog park, splash pad, and things of that nature.
That's it for right now.
All right.
Great.
The other one that has come up is the discussions about a community pool. So let us kind of delve a little bit into this. I am not inviting any other orders from council on this one. Reynoldsburg does not have a community pool as tradition in some other communities. What we have is the YMCA. I was not here at that point in time, so I can't speak necessarily to how all of that stuff happened in the room and why the building was the way that it was and things like that. All of that stuff has been discussed all the time. The question is, for us moving forward, is, okay, so if we were to decide to do a community pool, how would that look? What would it look like, and what would the fees be? So just in the last couple of hours, my intern Emma, who will be on the show at some point in time, she's sitting over there hoping that we don't pan the camera to her, kind of looked in. So from a family pass in Grove City, if you do it before April 30th, it's $292 for the season. If you do it after April 30th, it's $325. Resident day passes vary from $6 to $9 depending on the day. So we're looking at, again, anywhere from basically, let's just call it $300. Westerville and their aquatic center is about $210. Then we have New Albany, which is a range between $378 and $401 for New Albany. Day passes are anywhere from $9 to $11. In the YMCA, if you were to do, let's say, 5 months, if you were to do 2 adults plus kids, that would be from May, June, July, August, September for 5 months. It's $374. So now they all have other intricacies, and there's not always apples to apples all the way throughout, but these are for your outdoor pool facilities. So if the city of Reynoldsburg were to move in a direction for that, it would probably be between those ranges of what you would have to pay. So it's not going to be too dissimilar from the YMCA outside of the size and scope of something like that. But I'm here to tell you that if we were to go that direction, one, we could not do it unless we had to go to the ballot, which means that everybody in the city of Reynoldsburg who owns property would be up to actually fund and provide information on that particular thing, let alone finding location, and then the most important thing is, maintenance and staffing and operating it afterwards. I've talked to every mayor in the Central Ohio region that has community pools. I've been at some of the facilities. And all of these things are incredibly expensive to maintain, and almost all of them lose money year after year after year. That being said, if this is a direction that the community wants to move forward in, then I encourage them to reach out to members of council because ultimately it's their call. I'm not passing the buck. The reality is I'm doing the work to figure out if we even can do this and how it would look. But it would be a property tax increase, and I do not know how much that is, because once I start going down that rabbit hole, it becomes a whole other thing. All I can say is this, is when we were looking to add X amount of police officers, when we did some funding of that, and how much that would cost, you were looking at about $289 to $300 per $100,000 just to hire additional 30 officers over the next 6 years. So you're looking at property tax increases on a relatively large level. Again, I cannot speak to what happened before January 1st, 2020. I'm not trying to say anything, I will tell you this, when you're in this room, when you're making the decisions, when you're on council, it is a lot different when you're in those positions than if you're on the outside looking in. There are a lot of things that go into play for it. Things happen. And so I can't say it. I think the YMCA is a wonderful thing. My family goes there all the time. I don't go swimming because no one needs to see that. But it's a wonderful occasion to be there, and it's a good partner for a lot of things that we do in the community. That being said, if this is the direction that we want to go, that's it. But it cannot be done just by us. And I don't know, and again, we would find this out. I would bet that the price range for families of a typical family of 4 would be anywhere between that $200 to $400 range, depending on all of that stuff. So I leave it to you if you're interested in that. Also looked at a couple of other things. In the Central Ohio area, there are 4 skating rinks. One in Columbus, one in Westerville, or 2 in Columbus, one in Westerville, one in Grove City. Rock climbing is available, but it's usually built into other locations. So that's something that is in other locations in part of a larger thing. There are 7 bowling alleys, and I do know that I talk to all of them on a regular basis when I was a coach, and that was one of the things that they struggled with, is how do you get people to go there on a regular basis. That's why a place like Rule 3 had to diversify with all the other things. They've got bowling, but they've got volleyball, event stuff, all of these other different things. So there's a lot of stuff there. From an economic standpoint, no one is going to come into the city of Reynoldsburg and refurbish a building that doesn't exist to make it a bowling alley. It just can't happen. There's nothing here to do that. To buy it and build it and maintain and operate it, remember, the people that come into the community that want to do this type of stuff, they want to see a profit, and they want to know that it's going to be there. And right now, bowling is not as profitable. The locations that are there as it is. Again, talk to some of the proprietors and what they do and things like that. Not all of them make money all the time, and those that do, basically, they break even and they get their points across. But that doesn't mean that every time that I talk to somebody who might be in that world, that is their world of things, whether it's that, whether it's a pins type location, something smaller scale, whether it's axe throwing and all of these other things. Anytime that I can talk to about it, I do. Same thing with restaurants. We know that restaurants are going to come over on our Eastwood area. We know that they're going to be coming in over off our Bryce Road corridor when the Alliance thing continues to get moving on and things like that. So it is coming, but it takes a lot of time. Remember, we're talking about the Trivium site, which is getting ready to open up with all of its things probably in mid-July. We're looking at that particular thing. That's 2.5 to 3 years to get taken care of. Same thing with all. It takes a lot of time. But believe me, we are working on it. None of these things are, I woke up today and I said, we're going to go ahead and do this. It takes
That's
a
not
lot
how it
longer.
works.
No, usually the ideas are I get a phone call from council and I'm like, you know what, let's see if we can do that. So that's how it works. But we are working towards those things. I encourage the debate on social media. I want to do these things. And believe me, I know that this is what we want. I know we want this in our community. And we are working hard to do it. But there is a trade-off between developers who want to come in and invest because they want to make money off of it. But at the same time, for the cities themselves, we have to be responsible on how this works as well. We can't just buy property and give it away for absolutely nothing to get virtually the same thing, except it would be housing, not affordable housing. And honestly, we have enough housing as it is right now with some of the other things. What we don't have is affordable housing. Any questions, comments?
You addressed this a little bit, but just specifically with the community pool, could you look at private investors to partner with for a community pool? Is that an option for that project?
We can, but again, if you're investing in, investors want to get a return on their money. And if pools typically don't make money, because remember, in Ohio, and maybe global warming will help this, Ohio, you only have May, June, July, August, September. So you only have X amount of months to do it. Could it be a partner where you have pools and then something else in addition to that that would be more of a long-term winter type thing? Absolutely, but that again just expands the project. Can we ask community partners to do it? Absolutely, we can. It's just a question of whether or not they see it as a viable thing to get a return on their investment, and that's going to be the thing. All right. So all that development being said, please continue to send out the information. Love to hear from you. And again, council will do it as well, but I'm hopeful that this project will move forward and we can continue moving on with other things. Events, speaking of other things, we've got the Market Off Main. Did you get a chance to go to Market Off Main last
I
week?
did, and it was fantastic
Yes,
to
it is.
see some returning vendors, some new vendors, and by the time I got to Tyler's Pizza, they were already sold out.
Yes.
So I guess I need to get here like first in line.
There is an advantage to being right next door.
I know.
Hey, it's 4 o'clock.
You know.
Come on, time to take a quick break.
I guess I have to cash app you, so when you are in line, you can just get mine.
Taking care of that
Okay.
stuff.
Mhm.
It's really good. It was a great event. Lots of new vendors, lots of returning friends. Like I said, one new one that came up is Goldman Family Farms. This was, the meat market. So this is where you can go and get your different meats. But they also did something pretty cool. They're going to make you a sandwich right there if you want. So you can actually buy a sandwich at that point in time and kind of, I guess you could say, taste the product before you buy the big bulk stuff. So that's awesome. We will try and highlight different vendors all the way across. Obviously, Tyler's is a big one. I got to look at the the oven baked pizza and all of that. That was really cool. Tyler's Pizza is phenomenal, so that's pretty cool. So come on out again tomorrow from 4 to 7. If you want to get in there a little early just to stand up the line and that type of thing, you might want to do that, especially for Tyler's, because I think most of some of their breads were sold out within the first 15 minutes and things like that. So we also have another concert on the lawn Sunday, June 23rd. This is at the Livingston House. It was a great showing last time, but this one we have the Jimmy Buffett Tribute Band. So for all of you parrot heads out there, make sure you come ready with your Hawaiian shirts and whatnot. Got to do that, and that's from 6 to 8 o'clock. And we also have a couple of other events as well. Former Raider and professional football player Rosie Nix, who we know, a good friend of ours, is having his camp on June 29th from 10 to 2 at the Livingston campus for ages 6 to 16. We also know we have our Reynoldsburg Turo Historical Society open house this Saturday, June 15th from 10 to 2. And then the Tomato Festival, we talked about, all the fun guests and acts and things like that, but I just want to remind everybody that reserved seating is going to be available Wednesday, July 10th, right after the show. So we're going to basically hit buy now and give our usual line, and then we're going to wait for the deluge of emails to come after that. So that's going to be good for some other reserved
I'm already
seating.
receiving texts
I'm
about.
sure, yeah.
And I said, you have to watch the Joe Show when it's unveiled.
So we also have our Celebrate USA 2050. So there's a lot of cool things going on. We're going to try and do some fun stuff. I've already talked to the fireworks company, and it's going to be Red or Boomier and all of that fun stuff. So we're going to have some fun with that. They were actually really impressed. They said that we're the first city that actually said something about prepping now for what it would be in 2026. And believe it or not, it'll be here before we know it. So we got that going on. Now, next fireside chat. Well, any other questions? Anything come across?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm sure that social media will have some questions later on. Normally I would kind of split it up, Juneteenth, and then I would, have that, today because that's on Tuesday. And then I would do next week's show would actually be for Pride, which is the following weekend. The reason why I combine them both this way is because I'm actually going on vacation. It's in celebration. It's in celebration of my wife putting up with me for 25 years. We've got 7 days left before we actually get to that 25 years. But she and I are going to go on vacation next week, so we will be out. But again, love you. It's going to be a wonderful vacation. I promise I will not look at my phone that much. That much.
That much.
That much. So if there aren't any other questions, again, thank you to Kelly Cruse and Rainbow Reynoldsburg for coming out here. A great activity. It's going to be fun. President Lawson, Rowe, thank you again for coming and joining us. It is going to be an amazing event that we kind of kicked it off in the Central Ohio area, and it's going to continue to do really well.
Thanks to you.
Oh, it is a partnership.
Yes.
We are all in this together. Got a lot of other things going on. My next guest is actually going to be State Senator Herschel Craig, and it's going to be a really good day because it's the day that I believe that they're going to get ready to vote on the state capital budget, which means I get to pester him and see did we get some of the money for the things that we've asked for, which I know he'll be thrilled to hear. But we're looking for pickleball money, and we're also looking for some trail money out by the Taylor Road Firehouse. So we're looking at both of those things. So with that, stay safe. Stay respectful. Please put your shopping carts away, and I will see you at the farmers market and any of our many community events out there. So have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.